Many aspects of the investigation and Aaron's trial has made us angry, has made us sad, has made us react in many ways against the collusion and corruption and the poison that the DPP and Garda Síochána have brought to Aaron's case. And probably none has been more to the forefront of that than Molly Staunton giving her testimony via video link from her kitchen in New York to the court in Dublin in June 2020. And as you know, as you can see here, it's the video number 4. We're sort of recapping over Aaron's appeal that ran from the 4th to the 11th of October just past. And of course, there were a number of issues related to Molly Staunton's testimony that were, as we say, very valid points of appeal. We're going to go through this again, and for those of you who are just joining the Justice for Aaron Brady campaign recently, once again you can go back to the very beginning of our campaign in 2020, and there have been numerous videos about Molly Staunton's testimony and what was actually allowed to happen in the Irish Judicial system in the Special Criminal Court in Dublin during the course of Aaron's trial, and all the protagonists that allowed it to happen forced it through, knowing that what they were doing was illegal and it was simply part of framing an innocent man. So we're going to run very quickly through Molly Staunton's testimony. I suppose the first thing to say is, as we've said on numerous occasions, COVID-19 allowed Molly Staunton to give her evidence from her kitchen in New York. That in itself was obviously a very valid and strong appeal point. Everyone knows every defendant has the right to face their accuser, and obviously that was not granted to Aaron, as these people give evidence from the safety of behind the camera from New York. And in the prelude to Molly Staunton coming to give her evidence on camera via the video link, she undertook a number of legal responsibilities and general responsibilities for giving this evidence in the way that it was given. And that resulted in Molly Staunton getting a letter from the Irish Judicial system, and in that she was asked to have a secure space that she herself was on her own, without interference, without interruption, and she could give her evidence clearly to the court here in Ireland. So obviously that's something we have to bear in mind as we go through. And then on Monday, Monday the 11th, I'll have to get this right, I think it's Monday the 9th of October just past, we had the opportunity to watch again the video footage of Molly Staunton giving her testimony during the course of Aaron's trial. And it was very harrowing. It was far worse than we had ever remembered, because you have to understand, this just happened in June 2020. It was an ongoing situation. Like, we really couldn't believe that in the first instance that someone was allowed to give their evidence from their kitchen in New York. That's the first thing. And then the intrusion happened. The male, who we know his name was Seamus, is attacking Molly Staunton, saying various things about her evidence and her testimony. And this all unfolded in the courtroom. So it all happened in a flash, and then it was all over. But this time we knew what was coming. We were ready to see what had actually transpired, to see it for the first time now in over 3 years. And it was shocking. As I say, far worse than any of us ever could recall. The girl was petrified. The girl was terrified. And at that point where the laptop was slammed down and someone shouting at her, "No more testimony, tell them what you're fucking supposed to tell them." The laptop slammed down, the screen went into darkness, and there was an audible, loud gasp in the whole courtroom. There was all through the courtroom. And nobody, I don't think, in the courtroom could believe what they were after seeing. So that sort of sets the scene for what happened in June 2020, and then just a few weeks back in October 2023. It was, even when we didn't think anything could get any worse, it was markedly far worse than we had ever recalled or remembered. So once again, during the court of Aaron's appeal, Fiona Murphy, Aaron's defence barrister, took us through some of the clips of the relevant clips were shown in court. Obviously, the three judges will have the opportunity to sit and watch all of Molly Staunton's testimony. But a couple of the clips that are obviously of relevance was the clips Fiona Murphy put up on the screen. And in the first clip, in the first day, we had a sound in the background which was a whisper. It was inaudible, but there was definitely a sense that there was someone else with Molly Staunton at that time. And because of the uniqueness of the whole situation, nobody at that time asked Ms Staunton, was there anyone with her? And in the next sequence of clips, that's when it got to be obviously louder, and there was a much stronger interaction between Molly Staunton and the person attacking her, whom we now know is Seamus. And some of the things were said, "I'm not going anywhere." And Molly Staunton is begging this man to leave the room. "I'm giving evidence in the murder trial. You have to go. The judge says you have to go." And Seamus says, "I'm not going anywhere." Then we moved on to another clip, and Seamus can be heard clearly saying, "Tell them what you're fucking supposed to tell them." Then there's the shout, "No more testimony. You're always terrorising me. No, you're terrorising me." Molly Staunton tells Seamus, "Please leave me alone. I'll make it up to you." We had to listen to this again in the court. And then Molly Staunton, as I've explained before, left the table she was sitting behind, just like I am now, went behind the camera, and there was physical altercation. A physical altercation between the two people. They were shouting, and bang, the laptop was slammed shut. And the screens went into darkness in the court. And what did happen was they continued to record exactly what was said for a couple of minutes. And again, we're into the realms of this man, Seamus, telling Molly Staunton, "Tell them what you're fucking supposed to tell them." And I've mentioned this before, this is at a situation where we're arriving at the point where Fiona Murphy was cross-examining Ms Staunton, and Ms Staunton was refusing to say that Aaron Brady said he shot a cop. And we've gone into detail about the scenario and the situation. Aaron was upset that day about the Irish Garda and the Irish police, and Molly Staunton was coming to the point in her testimony where she was telling the court, Aaron didn't say, "I shot a cop." And that has been vitally, vitally important. And then we came to a situation during the trial, and just as you see on the screen here with this gentleman, Molly Staunton's screen, laptop, lit up. And it's quite visible and very, very easy to discern that the laptop activated for some reason, a message came in. And Judge Michael White and Molly Staunton was visibly reading the screen. You could see quite clearly she was reading the screen. Judge Michael White said, Ms Staunton, are you reading anything? And as it says here, Ms Staunton said, no, I'm fixing my computer. So just getting to this point, Ms Staunton has laid here. She wasn't fixing a computer, she was reading something. She has told a lie. Ms Staunton was asked, are you in the room on your own? Are you giving evidence on your own? Ms Staunton said yes. Ms Staunton was telling lies. Ms Staunton, did you read the agreement that was sent to you, that you must be on your own when you're giving this testimony? Ms Staunton said, yes, I agree with everything in the letter. Ms Staunton lied. The whole testimony, even to that point, was a complete and utter catastrophe. And it has to be mentioned that Fiona Murphy and Michael O'Higgins had gone to great pains before this was even allowed by Michael White that the evidence should be given via video link. They went to great lengths to warn that such events could happen. There was no control, there was no proper protocol, and apart from anything else, I will say once again, Aaron Brady was not allowed the right to face his accuser. So up until that point, the whole thing is a complete and utter catastrophe. And at that time, the only peace of mind really offered was Judge Michael White did ask Ms Staunton, was she all right? But you can see quite clearly the girl is absolutely terrified. And she says, yeah, I'm fine, I'm okay to continue. And the only succour that we got from the court was when Brendan Graham said to Ms Staunton, can you lock the door so you're not interrupted? So Brendan Graham saying, is it okay, we'll go ahead with this test, and you can lock the door. It doesn't really matter if this man, violent man that Brendan Graham called a thug, comes back in and beats the head of you with a hammer or a hatchet. That was no concern of Brendan Graham's whatsoever. He just wanted to get the job done. And that is blatantly obvious now. Graham knew exactly what was going on. And he knew he had only one bite of the lays of this cherry. And that is a fact, because nobody involved in the deliverance of justice, whether you be a prosecutor or a defence barrister, nobody in their right mind would have went ahead with that testimony, what happened in that kitchen in New York that day. And that's the only peace of mind we had. Lock the door so the thug can't get back in at you. But we're going ahead with Brady's case. And that was blatantly obvious. We knew it in June 2020, but by God, we certainly knew it 3 weeks ago on the 9th of October 2023. It could not have been clearer. And I repeat once again, Michael O'Higgins actually gave this comment here in respect of Homeland Security agents and indeed moving on into Daniel Cahill. But the courtroom is the correct place to give evidence and gives a correct sense of purpose and may help the witness to be more truthful. Michael O'Higgins most certainly was not being flippant with that remark. Michael O'Higgins was spot on the money when he said it will help the witnesses be more truthful. They should have been sitting in the courtroom in Dublin. And on top of that, during all this chaos and pandemonium, Judge Michael White said this about Molly Staunton. She is becoming a reluctant witness. Now, he even could see it unfolding. And yet, when the chaos happened and the attack happened on Molly Staunton, Judge Michael White, along with Brendan Graham and along with Mark Phillips, as you will see, ploughed on regardless. Anything could have happened to Molly Staunton, and there is no way anyone can tell us that Graham, White and Phillips had any control of what was happening in that flat 5,000 miles away. They had no control. To a degree. And then we come to the next morning, where these two men, the following morning after Molly Staunton gave the farcical testimony, these two men said they weren't going to investigate what happened the day before. Brendan Graham said on the behest of Garda Síochána and Senior Investigating Officer Mark Phillips, there would be no investigation into who this man was. And the second picture here at the bottom, number 2, is Mark Phillips was at the back of the court that day with at least 2 phones. Now, I'm going to throw it out there now, and Aaron's campaign will throw it out there now. See when Molly Staunton's laptop lit up. We are strongly suggesting the information she was getting, because she was under pressure to try and remember her lies. She was under pressure, and guess who either emailed her or sent her a message to that laptop? It is more than possible it was Mark Phillips. And we are 100% certain there was also a phone beside Molly Staunton at the side of her laptop as she looked slightly to her left on numerous occasions. So there was contact between Molly Staunton and AN another. And we are saying, without fear of contradiction, in fact, the AN another was Senior Investigating Officer Mark Phillips. And in response to what happened in Molly Staunton's apartment, Michael O'Higgins just gave a couple of statements during the course of his questions and response to what happened. He said it was contempt in the face of the court, which was quite obvious. If that happened in a normal court, someone ran into the room and attacked someone giving evidence, there'd be pandemonium. Everyone, the man, person, woman running in attacking the witness would be arrested. The witness would be questioned and the attacker would be questioned. Particularly if there were sentences shouted like, tell them what you're fucking supposed to tell them, no more testimony. There would have to be some sort of investigation into what was the connection with the attacker and the testimony. That goes without saying. You don't have to be Columbo or Sherlock Holmes to work that out. Michael O'Higgins says the court was totally impotent. There was nothing it could do. Hands were tied. Judge White was sitting, eyes wide open, and he knew he had no other option, only push on forward with Brady's trial. And Judge White knew every second, as soon as the first word was shouted at Molly Staunton, that's it. Should have been stopped immediately. But he allowed it to continue and progress into a complete and utter farce, a disgusting blot on Irish justice, what happened that day in court. And there is no doubt about that. There can be no contradiction to it. And Michael O'Higgins, as Judge White had noticed that Molly Staunton was becoming a reluctant witness, Michael O'Higgins went further. He said from the beginning she was a reluctant witness, because Molly Staunton was being forced to say something that was untrue. There can be no other explanation to it. And now we come to this. Who was Seamus? Now, we've said there's been a complete failure to investigate, and in the course of his response to the appeal point, Brendan Graham said it would be an exercise in futility to find out who Seamus was. What sort of complete bullshit is that, Mr. Graham? Of course, everybody involved with Aaron Brady's case needed to know who Seamus was, needed to know what Seamus was talking about, needed to know what pressure Seamus was exerting on Molly Staunton, needed to know why he was exerting pressure on Molly Staunton, needed to know why he physically attacked her behind the screen of the laptop, needed to know why Seamus was shouting, "No more testimony. Tell them what you're fucking supposed to tell them." And you tell us, Brendan Graham, and tell the Irish public and a three judge court, it would be an exercise in futility. Are you for real? And you said it would be a fool's errand. Like, that speaks for itself, because it must be only fools that was on the phone to Molly Staunton. Because if Mark Phillips, and he did tell us in the courtroom in June 2020, he told us he was talking to Ms Staunton and she was fine, she was okay. Now, any detective worth his salt, I would say someone 14 or 15-year-old child would think to ask Molly Staunton, who is Seamus? Who is that man? Why is that man shouting at you? Why is that man shouting about your evidence and your testimony? Now, Mark Phillips is smarter than a 14 or a 15-year-old child. And there can be no other alternative answer to why those questions weren't asked. Of course they were asked. But Mr. Phillips didn't like the answers. Because Seamus, we say, had some skin in the game. Seamus was getting something out of Molly Staunton's false testimony. That's our suggestion and what we see from what we know behind the scenes. Again, to come to the fore later on during the course of Aaron's campaign. So, what we seen on the 9th of October was bringing back a nightmare. It's even worse than that. It was so hard to explain when we looked up and seen Molly Staunton's face on the screens again. The girl was terrified. The girl was petrified. These people refused to investigate it. Judge Michael White, although he had said she was becoming a reluctant witness, allowed her to continue to give testimony after someone assaulting her. And that is another part of Aaron's appeal where we feel very strongly there is no other option for the judicial system in Ireland only to do the right thing. We will continue with more on the appeal. We're going to move into the Daniel Cahill saga and have a look at it. But as I say, as bad and as disgusting as the Cahill saga is, what happened on the 9th of October with Molly Staunton when we re-seen the video goes beyond words. We really can't explain it. So once again, thank you for watching our videos. Please continue to like, comment and share. We've been seriously hampered once again, shadow banned and all that nonsense. And the only reason that is happening is because we are telling the truth and someone wants to stop us from telling the truth. So please continue to like, comment and share. It helps with the algorithms and it makes Aaron's campaign stronger. And we'd say once again, we're not asking you, the Irish public, to presume innocence or guilt. All we're asking you, the Irish public, is to spread the word that there are serious questions to be asked in relation to the investigation into the murder of Adrian Donoghue and in relation to the trial of Aaron Brady for the murder of Adrian Donahue. It's as simple as that. Questions need to be asked, very serious questions, and the answers will give us some peace, I do believe, and get us what we deserve, and get, most importantly, what Aaron deserves: justice. Thank you once again, and we see you in the next video. Thank you.